They say betrayal tastes like champagne and lies. I learned it tastes like blood in your mouth when you bite down too hard trying not to scream. The night Adrian Cole destroyed me, I kissed a stranger in front of 300 witnesses. That stranger owned half of Manhattan's underground. That kiss cost me everything I thought I wanted and gave me everything I didn't know I needed. This is the story of how I burned my life down and built an empire from the ashes. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The Rothwell Gallery gleamed like a jewelry box that night, all crystal chandeliers and polished marble, the kind of place where even the air felt expensive. I stood near the wine display I'd curated, wearing a dress I couldn't afford, pretending I belonged among people who summered in the Hamptons and wintered in Aspen. I didn't belong, but I was close enough to fake it. "Lena, darling, you've outdone yourself." Margaret Rothwell materialized beside me, her perfume preceding her like an announcement. She gestured toward the rare vintages I'd arranged with the precision of a museum exhibition. "The 82 Margot next to the 61 Latour? Inspired." "Thank you, Mrs. Rothwell." I smiled the smile I'd practiced, warm but not eager, confident but not presumptuous. I thought the contrast would speak to collectors who appreciate evolution in winemaking. It speaks to their wallets, which is what matters. She patted my arm with fingers heavy with diamonds. "Adrian must be so proud." My smile almost cracked. "He should be here soon. He should have been here an hour ago." I checked my phone again. Nothing. Adrian Cole, my fiancé of 8 months, had promised to be here for the most important night of my career. This gala wasn't just another Manhattan fundraiser. It was my audition. Margaret Rothwell had hinted strongly that she was looking for someone to manage her private collection. Someone young, brilliant, with impeccable taste. Someone like me. If I impressed her tonight, I'd have everything I'd clawed my way toward for 5 years. Stability. Respect. A career that didn't involve serving entitled assholes at wine bars while they mispronounced Chateau Neuf du Pape. I smoothed down my dress. Black, simple, the most expensive thing I owned because Adrian had insisted I couldn't show up to this event looking like I'd bought it off a sale rack, which I had, originally, before returning it, and taking out a credit card I couldn't afford to get this one. Lena Cross? I turned to find a woman in her 60s, silver hair swept into an elegant chignon, holding a glass of the Margot. "I wanted to tell you personally, this selection is remarkable. You have a gift." Heat rose in my chest. This was why I did it. Why I'd spent 7 years studying wine like it was scripture, memorizing regions and vintages, and tasting notes until I could identify a Bordeaux blind. That means everything. Thank you. We talked for 10 minutes about terroir and oak aging, and she handed me her card, Victoria Chen, private collector. "Call me next week. I'm looking for someone to help me acquire a few special bottles." I clutched that card like a lifeline as she walked away. This was working. Everything was working. I just needed Adrian to show up so we could work the room together, so I could introduce him to the right people, so his family connections could open the doors my talent alone couldn't quite unlock. My phone buzzed. Finally. But it wasn't Adrian, it was my sister. "Sophia. We need to talk. Now. Where are you?" I frowned at the screen. Sophia never texted like that. My younger sister was all emojis and exclamation points, bubbly and effortless in the way that came from never having to fight for anything. Me. "At the Rothwell Gala. What's wrong?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Sophia. I'm outside. Please come out." My stomach dropped. I wove through the crowd, past men in tuxedos discussing stock portfolios and women comparing vacation homes. The gallery's front entrance opened onto a quiet side street, and I found Sophia standing under a streetlight, her face blotchy and red. "What happened?" I grabbed her arms. "Are you okay? Is Mom—" "I'm sorry." Her voice broke. "Lena, I'm so sorry." "For what?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. "Adrian and we didn't mean for it to happen." The words didn't make sense at first. They were just sounds, syllables in the wrong order. "What are you talking about?" "We've been seeing each other for 3 months." She was crying now, mascara streaming down her face. "I tried to end it. I swear I tried, but he said, He said he's in love with me. The street tilted. I grabbed the brick wall behind me because my legs had stopped working properly. You're lying. I'm not. She pulled out her phone, thrust it at me. I'm so sorry. I couldn't let you marry him without knowing. I didn't want to look. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away, to go back inside, to pretend this conversation never happened. But I looked. The photos were explicit. Not just explicit. Intimate. Adrian's face buried in my sister's neck, Sophia's hand in his hair. The two of them tangled in sheets I recognized from Adrian's apartment. Timestamps from last week, last month, while I'd been planning our engagement party. When? My voice came out strange. Flat. When did this start? The weekend you went to Napa for that tasting event. We ran into each other at a bar, and we were both drunk, and 3 months ago. I did the math. Right after he proposed. Lena, get away from me. Please, let me explain. Get away from me. She flinched. Good. I wanted her to flinch. I wanted her to feel a fraction of what was tearing through my chest like broken glass. I walked back toward the gallery entrance, but I couldn't go in. Not yet. Not with my hands shaking and my vision blurred and my entire world rearranging itself into something unrecognizable. I leaned against the building, focusing on breathing. In, out, in, out. My phone rang. Adrian, I answered. Lena, baby, I'm running late, but I'll be there in 20. I know about Sophia. Silence. The kind that confirms everything. Let me explain, he started. Did you fuck her in our bed? What? No, I would never. Just hers then, and yours. That's so much better, Adrian. Really shows respect. It's not like that. I care about you, I do, but what Sophia and I have, I hung up. Then I blocked his number. Then I blocked Sophia's. Then I stood there on a Manhattan street corner in a dress I'd gone into debt for, at a gala that was supposed to change my life, and tried to figure out how to walk back inside without shattering into pieces. A car pulled up. Black SUV, windows tinted, the kind of vehicle that costs more than most people's houses. The back door opened. Adrian stepped out, and he wasn't alone. Sophia climbed out after him, her tears miraculously dried, her hand in his. They'd come here. Together. To my event. Lena, we need to talk about this like adults, Adrian said, and he had the audacity to sound reasonable, calm, like he was the rational one and I was being hysterical. Adults? I laughed, and it came out jagged. You want to talk about being adults? We didn't plan this, Sophia said. It just happened. Nothing just happens. You made choices. Both of you, every single time. Adrian stepped closer. I was going to tell you, after tonight, I didn't want to ruin your big event. How considerate. Don't be like this. His jaw tightened. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene? My voice rose. You brought your mistress, who is also my sister, to my work event, and I'm making a scene? People were starting to notice. Guests lingering near the entrance, watching. Perfect. Let them watch. Lena, please, Sophia reached for me. Can we just go somewhere private and don't touch me? I jerked away. Don't ever fucking touch me again. You're being dramatic, Adrian said, and something in his tone, that dismissive, condescending edge, made everything click into place. This was who he'd always been. I'd just been too busy trying to fit into his world to notice. Dramatic, I repeated. Right. Because finding out my fiancé has been screwing my sister is totally something I should be calm about. Keep your voice down, he hissed. Why? Worried about your reputation? Your family's name? I stepped closer to him. You should have thought about that before you decided to fuck your way through my family tree. His face flushed. You're embarrassing yourself. Good. I turned to walk back into the gallery. I'd get my things and leave through the back, salvage what I could, but Adrian grabbed my arm. We're not done talking. Let go of me. Not until you calm down and listen. I yanked my arm free, stumbled backward, and collided with someone solid. Hands caught my shoulders, steadying me. Easy. I spun around to apologize and found myself staring at a man who looked like he'd been carved from marble and bad intentions. Tall. Well over 6 feet. With dark hair pushed back from a face that was all sharp angles and darker eyes. He wore a suit that probably cost more than my entire year's rent, and he was looking at Adrian with the kind of expression that made small animals play dead. "She asked you to let go," the stranger said. His voice was quiet, controlled, terrifying in its calmness. Adrian's face went pale. "Mr. Varela, I didn't realize we were just having a private conversation." "Didn't look private." Those dark eyes shifted to me. "You okay?" No, I wasn't okay. I was the opposite of okay. But something in his gaze, something fierce and unexpectedly steady, made me straighten my spine. "I'm fine," I said. "She's my fiancé," Adrian cut in. "This is a misunderstanding." "Ex-fiancé," I corrected. "As of about 5 minutes ago." The stranger's mouth almost curved. Almost. "Sounds pretty clear to me." "This is none of your business," Adrian said, trying to sound authoritative and failing. "I'm making it my business." The stranger's attention remained on me. "What do you need?" What did I need? I needed to not fall apart in front of 300 people. I needed Adrian to feel a fraction of the humiliation currently burning through my veins. I needed to do something, anything, to take back control of this nightmare. "Kiss me," I heard myself say. Both men stared at me. "What?" the stranger asked. "You asked what I need. I need you to kiss me. Right here. Right now." "Lena, what the hell are you doing?" Adrian's voice went sharp. I ignored him, focusing on the dark-eyed stranger who still had his hands on my shoulders. "Please, just one kiss. That's all I'm asking." "You're upset," he said carefully, "making choices you'll regret." "I'm making the first honest choice I've made in months." I stepped closer. "I'm asking you to kiss me like you mean it. Can you do that, or do I need to find someone else?" Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition of the kind of desperation that makes people do reckless things. "This is insane," Adrian started. "Your ex-fiancé, asked me a question." The stranger's gaze locked with mine. "You sure about this?" "Completely sure." "Then hold on tight." He kissed me. Not gently. Not tentatively. He kissed me like he was claiming territory, one hand sliding into my hair, the other pulling me against him. And it was nothing like kissing Adrian. Adrian kissed like he was checking items off a list. Pleasant, predictable, forgettable. This was not forgettable. This was being consumed. This was heat and hunger, and the kind of intensity that made the street disappear, made the staring crowd disappear, made everything disappear, except the taste of whiskey on his tongue and the solid wall of his chest against mine. When he finally pulled back, I was breathless. "Better?" he asked, low enough that only I could hear. "Much." I turned to face Adrian, whose face had gone from pale to red to something approaching purple. "What the hell was that?" he sputtered. "That," I said clearly, "was me deciding I deserve better than a lying bastard who fucks his way through family dinners." Sophia made a small sound. I didn't look at her. If I looked at her, I'd break. "You're crazy," Adrian said. You know that. You're actually crazy." "Maybe." I pulled off the engagement ring, 2 carats, princess cut, his grandmother's, and held it out. "But I'm not yours anymore." He didn't take it, just stared at me like I'd grown a second head. I dropped the ring on the sidewalk, heard it bounce, didn't care. Then I walked back into the gallery with my head high and my heart in pieces, very aware that the dark-eyed stranger was watching me go. Inside, the gala continued. Conversations, laughter, the gentle clink of crystal. I grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and downed it in 3 swallows. "Well," Margaret Rothwell appeared at my elbow, "that was certainly dramatic. My career, my future, everything I'd worked for, gone in one spectacular moment of public humiliation." "Mrs. Rothwell, I can explain—" "Explain what? That you have standards?" She plucked a fresh glass from a tray and handed it to me. "Adrian Cole is a pompous little shit who's been writing his family name since birth. You're better off." I blinked. What? "And Dominic Varela, of all people." She shook her head, something like amusement in her eyes. "You certainly know how to make an impression." "Who?" "The man you just kissed, Dominic Varela." He owns half the restaurants in Manhattan, and the other half wish he did. Also runs one of the most exclusive wine collections on the East Coast. She patted my arm. Though I'd be careful there, he's not exactly known for his gentle nature. My stomach dropped. I didn't know. Obviously. Margaret smiled. Call me Monday. We still have that position to discuss. She walked away, leaving me standing there with a glass of champagne and absolutely no idea what had just happened to my life. I made it through another hour. Smiled at the right people. Discussed wine pairings. Pretended my hands weren't shaking. Victoria Chen found me again and confirmed our meeting for next week. 2 other collectors asked for my contact information. Professionally, the night was a success. Personally, I'd just detonated a bomb in the middle of my existence. I finally escaped to the gallery's back courtyard, a small space with a fountain and benches where smokers gathered between courses. It was empty now, just me and the sound of running water and the muffled noise of the party inside. I sat down on the fountain's edge and let myself feel it. The betrayal, the rage, the humiliation of having 300 people watch my relationship implode in real time. And underneath it all, something else. Something that felt almost like relief. You hiding? I jumped. The stranger, Dominic Varela, stood in the courtyard entrance, hands in his pockets, watching me with those unreadable dark eyes. Maybe, I admitted. Smart. He walked closer. That was quite a show. I'm sorry I dragged you into it. Don't be. I haven't been that entertained in months. He sat down beside me on the fountain's edge, leaving a careful foot of space between us. Adrian Cole's an asshole. Always has been. You know him? Unfortunately, his family's been trying to get into my restaurants for years. I keep saying no. A pause. Now I'm definitely saying no. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Because I kissed you? Because anyone who can detonate their life that spectacularly and walk away with their head up is worth keeping around. He studied me. Most people would have run. You went back in. I had work to do. No, you had pride. There's a difference. I didn't know what to say to that. Lena Cross, he said, like he was testing out my name. Margaret told me about you, said you're brilliant, wasted on wine bar service. She said that? Among other things. He pulled out a business card, held it between 2 fingers. I'm looking for someone to manage acquisitions for my collection. Rare vintages, private tastings, estate sales. Interested? I stared at the card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering, Varela Imports. You're offering me a job? You don't even know me. I know you can identify a 61 Latour in the dark. I know you just burned every bridge to your old life without hesitating. And I know you kiss like you've got something to prove. His expression didn't change. That's enough. This is insane. Probably. He stood up. Think about it. Call me if you're interested. He walked away, leaving me holding his card and trying to process what the hell was happening. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. You looked beautiful tonight, even when you were breaking. My hands went cold. Me. Who is this? Unknown. Someone who understands what it's like to burn everything down. Consider my offer. You won't regret it. I looked up, but Dominic was gone. The card felt heavy in my palm. I should go home. Process. Make rational decisions in the morning when I wasn't running on adrenaline and champagne and the memory of a kiss that tasted like bad choices. Instead, I pulled out my phone and typed a response. Me. Dinner. Tomorrow. You pick the place. The reply came immediately. Dominic. 8 o'clock. I'll send a car. I sat there in the courtyard for a long time after that, listening to the fountain and the distant sounds of the party, and the quiet voice in my head screaming that I was making a terrible mistake. But terrible mistakes were all I had left, so I might as well make them count. Muck. The apartment I shared with Adrian was in Chelsea. Too expensive, too modern, too much his taste and not enough mine. I'd moved in 6 months ago, given up my cramped studio in Brooklyn because he'd insisted couples should live together. Now I stood outside the building at midnight, knowing I couldn't go inside. Everything I owned was in there. Clothes, books, my entire collection of wine journals and tasting notes. 7 years of my life boxed up in a home that had never quite felt like mine. I called my best friend. Lena, it's midnight. What's wrong? Can I stay with you tonight? My voice cracked. Please, Jules, I can't. I need somewhere to go. Of course. Always. What happened? Everything. Jules lived in a walk-up in the East Village, 4th floor, no elevator. She met me at the door in pajamas, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. Wine or whiskey? She asked. Whiskey. We sat on her couch, secondhand, covered in mismatched pillows, and I told her everything. Adrian, Sophia, the photos, the confrontation outside the gallery, the kiss. Jules listened without interrupting, pouring whiskey when my glass got low, and when I finally finished, she said exactly what I needed to hear. Fuck them both. I laughed, and it turned into crying, and she held me while I fell apart in a way I couldn't at the gala, couldn't on the street, couldn't anywhere people were watching. I'm such an idiot, I sobbed into her shoulder. I should have seen it. There were signs. He's a lying bastard. That's not on you. She's my sister. She's a selfish bitch who doesn't deserve you. I pulled back, wiping my face. What do I do now? Now? Jules handed me a tissue. Now, you take this Dominic guy's job, make obscene amounts of money, and become so successful that Adrian chokes on his regret every time he sees your name. It's not that simple. Why not? Good question. I pulled out Dominic's card, studying it in the dim light of Jules's living room. Margaret said he's dangerous. Dangerous how? She didn't specify, just said he's not known for his gentle nature. Babe, you just publicly humiliated your cheating ex-fiancé by kissing a stranger. I don't think you're in a position to worry about playing it safe. She had a point. My phone buzzed. I'd unblocked Sophia's number at some point, mistake, and now I had 17 missed calls and a string of texts. Sophia, please talk to me. Sophia, I never meant to hurt you. Sophia, we can fix this. Sophia, Lena, please. I blocked her again. Then I called my mom. She answered on the 3rd ring. Lena, it's late. Did Sophia tell you? A pause. Tell me what? So she didn't know yet. Perfect. She's been sleeping with Adrian for 3 months. They're in love, apparently. Silence. Then, what? They came to my event together tonight. Held hands. The whole thing. Oh, sweetheart. My mom's voice broke. I'm so sorry. Are you? The words came out sharper than I intended. Because Sophia's your favorite. She always has been. That's not true. It is, and we both know it. She's the pretty one, the easy one. The one who doesn't cause problems or make demands or work herself half to death for scraps. I was crying again. So forgive me if I don't believe you're actually sorry. Lena. I hung up, added my mother to the block list. Jules raised her eyebrows. Feel better? No? I drained my whiskey, but at least I'm done pretending. We stayed up until 3 in the morning, drinking and talking and making increasingly elaborate plans for revenge that we both knew I'd never follow through on. But it felt good to imagine Adrian's car getting towed, Sophia's perfect hair falling out, both of them stepping in dog shit every day for the rest of their lives. Petty? Absolutely. Necessary? God, yes. Finally, Jules set me up on her couch with blankets and pillows, and I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying the kiss. Dominic Varela's mouth on mine. His hands in my hair. The way he'd looked at Adrian like he was deciding whether crushing him was worth the effort. I pulled out my phone, found the text exchange. Me. Why did you help me tonight? I didn't expect a response at 3 in the morning, but my phone buzzed almost immediately. Dominic. I don't like bullies. Me. That's it? Dominic. That's enough. Me. What if I'm making a mistake? Taking your offer? Dominic. Then you'll make it. But you won't. You're too smart to waste your talent on people who don't deserve you. Me. You don't know me. Dominic. I know enough. Get some sleep, Lena. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. I should have asked more questions, should have demanded references, details, clarity on what exactly this job entailed. Instead, I closed my eyes and let the whiskey pull me under, dreaming of dark eyes and darker promises, and the way it felt to burn everything down and walk away smiling. Was. Morning came too soon. Sunlight through Jules's windows, the smell of coffee, and a headache that felt like my brain was trying to escape through my skull. "You're alive," Jules said, handing me a mug. "Impressive." I sat up, wincing. "What time is it?" 9. "You have approximately 11 hours until your dinner with Mystery Man." Right. Dinner with Dominic. What the hell was I thinking? My phone showed 43 missed calls. Adrian, Sophia, my mother. Even Margaret Rothwell had tried to reach me once, probably to rescind her job offer now that she'd had time to reconsider hiring someone who caused public spectacles. But when I checked my voicemail, Margaret's message was brief. "Still want to talk on Monday? Call me." One piece of good news. I needed to get my things from Adrian's apartment, needed to find a place to live, needed to figure out what the hell came next. But first, I needed to stop shaking. "Jules," I said quietly, "I think I'm having a panic attack." She sat down beside me, took the coffee mug from my hands before I could spill it. "Breathe with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. We breathed together until the tightness in my chest eased, until the world stopped tilting. "Better?" she asked. "A little." "Good. Now eat something, shower, and we'll make a plan." The plan was simple. Jules would come with me to Adrian's apartment, we'd pack up my essentials, and I'd crash with her until I found my own place. Simple, straightforward, achievable. Of course, nothing went according to plan. We got to the apartment at noon. I used my key, expecting Adrian to be at his office. He worked at his family's investment firm, kept banker's hours, never home on Saturdays. But he was there, sitting on the couch, waiting. "Lena." He stood up when we walked in. "We need to talk." "No," I said. "We don't. I'm just here to get my things. Please, just 5 minutes." Jules stepped closer to me. She said no. Adrian ignored her. "Lena, I know I hurt you. I know I messed up. But what we had, it was real. It matters." "What we had," he said carefully, "was you lying to me for 3 months while you fucked my sister. That's what was real. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Adrian? Explain it to me." "Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty fucking clear." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I used to find endearing. Now it just looked performative. "Sophia and I connected in a way I didn't expect. It doesn't mean I don't care about you." "You care about me." I repeated the word slowly. "You care about me, but you fell in love with my sister." "I never said I fell in love with her." "She said you did." "She's exaggerating. It's complicated." "It's really not." I walked toward his bedroom. "It's actually very simple. You're a liar, she's a backstabber, and I'm done." He followed me. "Don't do this. Don't throw away everything we built. You threw it away the first time you touched her." I started grabbing clothes from the closet, shoving them into a duffel bag I'd brought. Jules helped, working quickly, not speaking. Adrian watched. "Where are you going to go?" "None of your business." "Lena, be reasonable. You can't afford your own place." "Then I'll figure it out. I always do." "Is this about that guy, Varela?" His voice turned sharp. "Are you actually going to work for him?" I stopped packing. "How do you know about that?" "People talk." "He's dangerous, Lena. He's connected to things you don't understand." "Like what?" "Like organized crime, money laundering, things that could destroy your career before it even starts." I zipped up the duffel bag. "Sounds like he'll fit right in with my family. We're all liars and criminals anyway." "That's not funny." "It wasn't meant to be." I grabbed my wine journals from the bookshelf, my collection of tasting notes, the reference books I'd spent years accumulating. Everything that mattered fit into 3 bags. Everything that was actually mine. "I'll have the rest sent to Jules's place," I said. "I'll be out of here by the end of the week." "Lena," Adrian's voice cracked. "Don't go, please. We can work this out." "No, we can't." "I love you." I turned to face him, really looked at him, saw the face I'd kissed goodnight for 8 months, the man I'd planned a future with, the person I thought I'd spend my life beside, and felt absolutely nothing. "No, you don't," I said. "You love the idea of me. The wine prodigy you could show off at parties. The girl who made you look cultured and refined. But you don't love me. You don't even know me. That's not true. Prove it. Tell me one thing about me that isn't related to wine or my career. One thing that matters. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. See? I picked up 2 of the bags. Jules grabbed the third. You can't, because you never actually cared enough to learn. We walked out, and I didn't look back. What? Jules's apartment felt smaller with my stuff crammed into the corner of her living room. We ordered Thai food, drank more wine than was advisable at 3 in the afternoon, and I tried not to think about the dinner I'd agreed to. 8 o'clock. A car. Dominic Varela. What are you going to wear? Jules asked around a mouthful of pad thai. I don't know. I didn't exactly pack cocktail dresses. You packed that black thing you wore last night. That's ruined now. I can't wear the dress I was wearing when my life exploded. Why not? Reclaim it. Make it mean something different. I considered this. That's either brilliant or insane. With you, it's usually both. At 7:30, I showered and put on the black dress, fixed my makeup, and tried to look like someone who had their life together instead of someone who'd spent the day crying into Thai food. The car arrived exactly at 8. Black sedan, professional driver who opened the door without speaking. This is either really romantic or the beginning of a murder, Jules said from her window. If I don't text you by 10, call the police. Will do? Have fun. Use protection. Don't fall in love with the dangerous wine mogul. I'm not falling in love with anyone. Famous last words. The car drove through Manhattan, heading uptown, finally stopping in front of a building I recognized. One of those old brownstones that cost more than small countries, converted into private residences for people who considered penthouses too common. The driver opened my door. Mr. Varela is expecting you, top floor. I walked inside, took an elevator that required a key card, and emerged into an apartment that made Adrian's place look like a college dorm. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Hardwood floors that gleamed like water. Art on the walls that probably belonged in museums. And wine. An entire wall dedicated to climate-controlled storage. Bottles arranged like a cathedral to fermentation. Dominic stood by the windows, wearing dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. And when he turned to face me, I remembered exactly why I'd asked him to kiss me. You came, he said. I said I would. People say a lot of things they don't mean. He walked toward me. Drink? Please. He poured 2 glasses of red wine. I recognized it immediately. Barolo, at least 15 years old, probably closer to 20. This is a 99 Bartolo Mascarello, I said after the first sip. His eyebrows rose. You're good. I told you, it's what I do. We stood there drinking wine that cost more than my monthly rent, and I waited for him to explain why I was here. Dinner's in the next room, he said finally, but first I want to show you something. He led me to the wine wall, pressed a hidden panel, and it slid open to reveal another room beyond. A wine cellar. A real one. Temperature controlled, humidity perfect, rows and rows of bottles that represented decades of collecting. This is... I couldn't finish the sentence. My life's work. He walked between the rows, trailing fingers over labels. Every bottle here tells a story. Where I was when I found it, why it mattered, what I had to do to acquire it. It's incredible. It's incomplete. He pulled out a bottle, studied it. I need someone who understands what these mean. Not just the monetary value. Anyone can look that up. But the history, the craft, the art of finding the one bottle that completes a collection. And you think that's me? I know it is. He set the bottle down. I watched you at that gala. The way you talked about wine like it was alive. Like each bottle had a soul you were trying to understand. That's rare. There are plenty of sommeliers in New York. I don't want a sommelier. I want a curator, a hunter, someone who'll travel to estate sales in Bordeaux and argue with collectors in Napa and track down bottles that aren't supposed to exist. My heart started beating faster. That's the job? Part of it. I also need someone to manage the cellars at my restaurants, plan tasting events, educate my staff, build relationships with distributors. He turned to face me. I need someone who lives and breathes this, someone who'll fight for the right vintage the way you fought back at that asshole last night. I didn't fight. I just kissed you. You fought. His voice dropped. You chose yourself over what was safe. That takes courage. We were standing too close. I could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive, cedar and smoke. What's the catch? I asked. The catch? There's always a catch. This sounds too good to be true. No catch. Just long hours, constant travel, and dealing with collectors who think their money makes them experts. I've been dealing with entitled assholes my entire career. I can handle it. I know you can. He smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from him. That's why I'm offering you twice what you made at that wine bar, plus commission on acquisitions, plus travel expenses. I nearly choked on my Barolo. Twice? You're worth it. You don't know that. Then prove me right. We stared at each other, and I knew, absolutely knew, that if I took this job, everything would change. Not just my career, everything. But I'd already burned my old life to ashes. Might as well build something new from the flames. When do I start? I asked. Monday, if you want. I want. His smile widened. Good. Now let's eat. I'm starving. Dinner was in a dining room that seated 12 but was set for 2. The table held dishes I couldn't pronounce and wine I couldn't afford, and Dominic talked about his collection like other men talked about sports. There's a Chateau de Quam from 1811 at an estate sale in Lyon next month, he said. Napoleon's personal reserve. I need someone to authenticate it. You want me to go to France? If you can verify it's real, yes. And if it's real, I want you to acquire it. That'll cost a fortune. I have a fortune. Right. Of course he did. What exactly do you do? I asked. Besides collect wine. Imports, restaurants, real estate. He refilled my glass. Things that make money. Adrian said you're connected to organized crime. Adrian's an idiot. That's not an answer. No, it's not. He met my eyes. I'm not going to lie to you, Lena. My business isn't always clean. I deal with people who don't ask questions. I solve problems that require creative solutions, but I'm not involved in anything that would put you at risk. How do I know that's true? You don't. You have to trust me. I don't know you well enough to trust you. Then get to know me. He leaned back in his chair. Ask me anything. I'll answer honestly. I thought about it. Why did you help me last night? I told you, I don't like bullies. That's not the whole truth. No. He studied his wine glass. You reminded me of someone. Someone who got backed into a corner and came out swinging. Who? Myself. A long time ago. He set down the glass. I grew up in Hell's Kitchen, when it was actually hell. My father ran numbers for the Irish mob. My mother cleaned houses. I learned early that the world doesn't care if you're good or smart or deserving. It only cares if you're strong enough to take what you want. Is that what you did? Took what you wanted? Eventually, after I learned how. His jaw tightened. My father died when I was 16. Someone decided he was skimming. He wasn't, but that didn't matter. They made an example. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me that loyalty matters more than anything, and that power is the only thing that keeps people safe. I absorbed this. You built all this from nothing? From less than nothing, from debt and blood and the kind of rage that either destroys you or makes you unstoppable. He smiled without warmth. I chose unstoppable. And now you want me to help you collect wine. Now I want you to help me build something that matters, something that lasts. He stood up, walked to the window. I have money, Lena. I have power. But I don't have anyone who sees this, he gestured toward the wine cellar, as anything more than an investment. You want someone who cares. I want someone who understands. He turned to face me. Can you do that? Could I? Could I work for a man who admitted his business wasn't clean, who dealt with people who didn't ask questions, who looked at me like I was something precious and breakable and worth protecting all at once? Yes, I said. I can do that. We finished dinner. Dominic poured a cognac that was older than me, and we sat in his living room talking about wine regions and acquisition strategies and the difference between collecting and hoarding. At midnight, he called his driver. You don't have to leave, he said at the door. I have guest rooms. I should go. Probably smart, but neither of us moved. Thank you, I said, for tonight, for the job, for everything. Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen how demanding I can be. I'm not scared of hard work. I know. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. That's what makes you dangerous. His hand lingered. My breath caught. Dominic, I know. Too soon. Too complicated. He dropped his hand. But eventually, lean across. We're going to finish what we started. What we started? That kiss. It wasn't nearly enough. Heat flooded through me. We work together now. Not yet. You start Monday. We have 2 days. 2 days for what? He smiled. To decide if we're making a terrible mistake. The car waited downstairs. I rode back to Jules's apartment with my heart racing and Dominic's words echoing in my head. Eventually, we're going to finish what we started. I was definitely making a terrible mistake. But for the first time in my life, I didn't care. Jules was still awake when I got back, curled up on the couch with her laptop and a mug of something that smelled like chamomile. Well, she said the moment I walked in, did he murder you? Because you look remarkably alive for a murder victim. I dropped my purse on the floor and collapsed beside her. I took the job. Of course you did. She closed her laptop. Details. Now. He has a wine cellar that's worth more than most people make in a lifetime. He wants me to go to France next month to authenticate a bottle from Napoleon's personal reserve, and he pays twice what I was making. Jules whistled. Damn. What's the catch? Why does everyone keep asking me that? Because men like Dominic Varela don't offer dream jobs to women they just met without wanting something in return. I thought about the way he'd looked at me at the door, the promise in his voice. Eventually, we're going to finish what we started. He wants me, I said quietly. Obviously. The man practically undressed you with his eyes at the gala. No, I mean, yes, there's that. But he also actually wants someone who cares about wine the way he does. Someone who sees it as more than just expensive bottles. Jules studied me. You like him? I don't know him. That's not what I asked. I pulled my knees up to my chest. He's dangerous, Jules. Adrian was right about that much. Dominic admitted his business isn't always clean. Define not clean. He didn't, just said he deals with people who don't ask questions. So he's connected. Probably. And you're still taking the job. Yes? Why? I thought about this, really thought about it. Because for the first time in 5 years, someone's offering me exactly what I want. Not a compromise, not a stepping stone, the actual thing I've been working toward. And if it comes with strings attached, then I'll deal with the strings. I looked at her. I spent 8 months trying to be the perfect girlfriend for a man who was screwing my sister. I'm done playing it safe. Jules grinned. There's the Lena I know. I was worried that asshole had broken you. He tried. I stood up, headed toward the bathroom. But I'm harder to break than he thought. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay on Jules's couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation with Dominic, trying to figure out what I'd just signed up for. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Dominic. Can't sleep? Me. How did you know? Dominic. Because I can't either. I keep thinking about Monday. Me. Nervous about your new employee? Dominic. Nervous about what happens if I can't keep this professional. My breath caught. Me. We agreed. Work comes first. Dominic. We did. Doesn't mean it'll be easy. Me. Nothing worth having is easy. Dominic. True. Get some sleep, Lena. You'll need your energy. I set my phone down and tried to follow his advice. Failed spectacularly. Finally gave up around 5 and made coffee, watching the sun rise over the East Village through Jules's kitchen window. This was real. I'd actually done it. Burned down my old life and built something new in less than 48 hours. The question was whether I'd built a future or just a prettier prison. Monday morning, I showed up at Dominic's office building in Midtown, all glass and steel, the kind of place where even the security guards wore designer suits. His assistant, a woman named Patricia, who looked like she could kill you with her stare, led me to the top floor. Mr. Varela is expecting you, she said, her tone suggesting I shouldn't get used to special treatment. Dominic's office made his apartment look modest. Corner suite, windows on 2 walls, a desk that probably cost more than a car. He stood when I walked in, and I noticed he'd ditched the casual look from Saturday night. Today, he wore a full suit, charcoal gray, tailored within an inch of its life. Lena. He came around the desk. Ready to start? As ready as I'll ever be. Good, because we're starting with the deep end. He handed me a folder. Estate sale in Sonoma. Collector died 3 months ago. Family's liquidating. I need you to go through the inventory, identify anything worth acquiring, and negotiate. I opened the folder. The inventory ran 20 pages. When? You fly out tomorrow. I've booked you a hotel, arranged transportation. Take whatever time you need. Tomorrow? I just started today. I know. Welcome to the job. He smiled slightly. Problem? No. I straightened my spine. No problem. Good. Patricia will handle your travel details. I want a full report by Friday. He walked back to his desk, started typing something on his computer, and I realized I'd been dismissed. Professional. Right. This was professional. I made it to the door before he spoke again. Lena. I turned. Don't let them lowball you. That collection is worth at least $2 million. Offer 1, settle at 1.5. How do you know what it's worth? You haven't even seen it. I don't need to see it. I know the collector, Marcus Chen. He had impeccable taste and deep pockets. His eyes met mine. Trust me. There was that word again, trust. I nodded and left, found Patricia waiting with a plane ticket and a credit card with my name on it. Hotel reservation is at the Fairmont, she said. Car service will pick you up at SFO. Mr. Varela expects daily updates. Understood. She handed me the credit card. This is for business expenses. Don't lose it. Don't abuse it. And don't make me regret giving it to you. I won't. We'll see. But her expression softened slightly. He doesn't usually hire people this quickly. You must have made an impression. I kissed him at a gala. Patricia's eyebrows rose. I heard about that. Bold move. Desperate move. Same thing sometimes. She returned to her desk. Good luck in Sonoma. You'll need it. I spent the rest of the day researching Marcus Chen's collection, cross-referencing auction records, studying market values. By the time I left the office at 8, my brain felt like it had been put through a blender. Jules was waiting with Chinese takeout and questions. So, how was day 1? I'm going to California tomorrow. Already? I explained the assignment while we ate straight from the containers. Jules listened, occasionally interjecting with observations about how insane this all was. He's testing you, she said finally. I know. Can you handle it? I have to. I set down my lo mein. This is my shot, Jules. If I screw this up, I'm back to pouring wine for tourists who think Napa is in Italy. You won't screw it up. You're brilliant at this. Brilliance doesn't matter if I can't close the deal. Then close it. She pointed her chopsticks at me. You've been underestimated your entire career. Prove them all wrong. The flight to San Francisco was smooth. I spent it reviewing Chen's inventory again, making notes about which bottles were worth pursuing. The 47 Cheval Blanc, the 45 Mouton Rothschild, the collection of pre-phylloxera burgundies that shouldn't even exist anymore. If half of this was real, Dominic was right about the value. The car service dropped me at the hotel, and I checked into a room with a view of the bay. Too nice, too expensive, and I felt like an imposter the entire time. My phone rang. Dominic. You made it, he said. Just checked in. Good. The family wants to meet tomorrow at 10. I've sent you their contact information. Dominic. Yes? What if I can't authenticate everything? What if I miss something? You won't. You don't know that. I do. You spent 7 years training for this, Lena. Trust yourself. There was that word again. Okay, I said. I'll call you tomorrow after the meeting. I'll be waiting. He hung up, and I sat there in my fancy hotel room, trying to remember how to breathe. The Chen estate was in the hills above Sonoma, one of those properties that whispered old money and older wine. The family, 3 siblings who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else, met me in what used to be Marcus's tasting room. We want this done quickly, the oldest brother said. His name was David, and he had the kind of face that suggested he'd never been told no. We're not interested in drawn-out negotiations. I understand. I set my briefcase on the table. I've reviewed the inventory. I'm prepared to make an offer on several pieces. Which ones? I listed them, watched their expressions carefully. David's eyes narrowed. Those are the most valuable bottles. They're the ones my employer is interested in. Your employer? The middle sister, Rachel, leaned forward. Dominic Varela, right? We heard he sent someone. That's correct. We know who he is. David's tone turned cold. We know what he does. We're not selling to criminals. My stomach dropped. Mr. Varela is a legitimate businessman. Is that what he told you? Rachel laughed. How long have you worked for him? That's not relevant. It is if you don't know what you've gotten yourself into. David stood up. We're not doing business with Varela. Tell him to send someone else. Wait. I stood too. Whatever you think you know about Mr. Varela, it has nothing to do with this transaction. I'm here to make a fair offer for your father's collection. That's all. Fair, David scoffed. Nothing about Varela is fair. Then let me prove you wrong. I pulled out my notes. I'm prepared to offer $1 million for the bottles I specified. Cash, no contingencies. We can close by the end of the week. They exchanged glances. $1 million? Rachel asked. That's half what they're worth, David said. It's a starting point. I kept my voice steady. Make a counteroffer. We negotiated for 2 hours. They pushed for $2 million. I held at 1.2. We finally settled at 1.4, and by the time I walked out, I had a signed agreement and a massive headache. I called Dominic from the car. Done? He asked. 1.4. They drove a hard bargain. I expected 1.5. They didn't want to sell to you. I had to convince them you weren't the devil. A pause. What did you tell them? That you're a legitimate businessman who appreciates fine wine, which is true, right? Mostly. Dominic. I'm joking. You did well, Lena. Better than I expected. They tried to intimidate me. Said they knew what you do. Let me guess. David Chen thinks he's protecting his father's legacy from the big bad criminal. Something like that. David's an asshole who's been trying to undercut me for years. His father knew it too. That's why Marcus dealt with me directly. He sighed. Don't let it get to you. People talk. Most of it's bullshit. And the part that isn't? You'll figure it out eventually, but not today. Today you closed a major acquisition. Celebrate. I looked out the window at the Sonoma Hills. How? Expensive dinner, good wine, on the company card. I'm alone. Then enjoy your own company. You've earned it. He hung up, and I told the driver to take me back to the hotel. Ordered room service, steak, and a bottle of Napa Cab that cost more than my first car, and sat on my balcony watching the sunset. I'd done it, actually done it. Closed $1 million deal on my second day. My phone buzzed with a text from Dominic. Dominic. Patricia tells me you haven't used the card for anything personal. Why not? Me. It's for business expenses. Dominic. You're in Sonoma for business. Everything is a business expense. Buy yourself something nice. Me. I don't need anything. Dominic. Want and need are different. What do you want, Lena? I stared at that question for a long time. What did I want? I wanted to stop feeling like an imposter. I wanted to prove I belonged in this world. I wanted to forget about Adrian and Sophia and the way betrayal tasted like blood. I wanted Dominic to stop looking at me like I was something worth fighting for. Me. I want to be good at this. Dominic. You already are. Now go buy yourself those shoes you were looking at in the hotel boutique. Me. How did you know I was looking at shoes? Dominic. Lucky guess. Do it. That's an order. I laughed despite myself and went downstairs to the boutique, bought the shoes, ridiculously expensive, impractical, beautiful, wore them back to my room and felt like a different person, someone who belonged. The rest of the week passed in a blur. I oversaw the packing and shipping of the Chen bottles, verified authenticity on each one, and coordinated with Patricia on logistics. By Friday, I was back in New York with a successful acquisition and the beginning of something that felt like confidence. Dominic called me into his office the moment I arrived. Well done, he said, handing me a glass of scotch. The Chen collection is exactly what we needed. We? I have plans for those bottles. Special tasting event next month. Invitation only. I want you to organize it. Me? You acquired them. You should present them. He clinked his glass against mine. Welcome to the deep end, Lena. Hope you can swim. The tasting event became my life for the next 3 weeks. Guest lists, venue selection, pairing menus, educational materials. Dominic wanted perfection, and I was determined to deliver. We worked together constantly. Late nights in his office, early mornings at his restaurants, afternoons in the wine cellar arguing about presentation. And somewhere in all that work, something shifted. You're wrong, I said one night, standing in his cellar with a bottle of 61 Latour. If you present this before the Burgundies, you'll overwhelm the palate. The Latour is the crown jewel. It should be the finale. The Burgundies are more delicate. They'll get lost if you serve them after something this big. I set the bottle down. Trust me. He studied me for a long moment. You're sure? Completely. Then we'll do it your way. I blinked. Just like that? You're the expert. I hired you for your judgment. He stepped closer. I'm starting to think that was the smartest decision I've ever made. We were standing too close again. Happened more and more often lately. His office, the cellar, the back room of his flagship restaurant where we'd been testing pairings. Dominic, I said carefully. We agreed. Professional. I know what we agreed. His hand came up, almost touched my face, then dropped. Doesn't make it easier. Nothing worth having is easy. You said that before. I meant it. Good. He stepped back, putting distance between us. Because this is worth having, Lena. All of it. The work, the partnership. Whatever this is becoming. It's not becoming anything. Liar. He walked out of the cellar, leaving me alone with 1,000 bottles of wine and a heart that wouldn't stop racing. The tasting event was a triumph. 50 guests, each one more influential than the last. Critics, collectors, restaurant owners, people who could make or break careers with a single review. I presented each wine like I was telling a story. The history, the terroir, the journey from vine to bottle to this moment. And they loved it. By the end of the night, Dominic had fielded a dozen requests for private tastings. 3 marriage proposals directed at me, only one of them joking, and an offer from a collector in Dubai who wanted to buy the entire Chen collection. You could triple your investment, I told Dominic as we cleaned up after the last guest left. Not interested. Why not? Because these bottles aren't about money. They're about legacy. He picked up the empty Latour bottle, studied it. Marcus Chen spent 40 years building this collection. I'm not going to dismantle it for profit. That's sentimental. That's respect. He set the bottle down. Money's easy, Lena. Legacy is hard. We finished cleaning in comfortable silence, and when the last glass was put away, Dominic poured us both a final drink. To a successful event, he said. To not screwing it up, I corrected. We drank, and I felt the exhaustion of the last month finally catch up. You should go home, Dominic said. Get some rest. I'm too wired to sleep. Then stay. We'll open something ridiculous and celebrate properly. I should have said no. Should have gone back to Jules's apartment and maintained the professional boundaries we'd been pretending existed. Instead, I said yes. We ended up in his apartment, not the office, not the restaurant, but his actual home. The place I'd had dinner that first night, when everything was still simple and contained. Dominic opened a bottle of champagne that was older than both of us combined, and we sat on his couch talking about everything except work. Tell me about your family, he said. There's not much to tell. Mom worked 2 jobs to keep us fed. Sophia was the easy daughter. I was the difficult one. Difficult how? I asked too many questions, wanted too much, refused to settle. I sipped my champagne. Mom used to say I'd never be happy because I always wanted more. Is she right? I don't know. Maybe. I looked at him. What about you? Any siblings? No, just me. Lonely. Sometimes, but it taught me to rely on myself. He refilled our glasses. After my father died, I learned that the only person you can really trust is yourself. That's depressing. It's realistic. It's lonely, I insisted. He smiled. Maybe that's changing. Because of me? Because of you. We sat there drinking champagne that tasted like history, and I knew, absolutely knew, that we were crossing a line we couldn't uncross. I should go, I said, not moving. You should, he agreed, also not moving. Dominic. He kissed me. Not like that first night. Not for show, not for revenge, not for anything except the simple fact that we both wanted it. And I kissed him back. It was different this time, slower, deeper. His hands in my hair, my hands fisting in his shirt, and neither of us pretending this was anything except exactly what it was. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. That was a mistake, I said. Probably. We work together. I know. This is complicated. Everything worth having is complicated. He pulled back slightly. Tell me to stop, Lena. Tell me this isn't what you want and I'll back off. We'll keep it professional, I promise. I should have told him to stop. Should have walked away while I still could. Instead, I kissed him again. We ended up in his bedroom, his actual bedroom, not a guest room. And I tried not to think about consequences or complications or the fact that I was sleeping with my boss after less than a month. Tried and failed, but did it anyway. Afterwards, lying in his bed with the city lights spilling through the windows, Dominic traced patterns on my shoulder. Regrets? He asked. Ask me tomorrow. Fair enough. He pulled me closer. Stay. Just tonight. Just tonight, I agreed. But we both knew it was a lie. I woke up to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Dominic was already dressed, sitting on the edge of the bed with 2 mugs. Morning, he said. Morning. I sat up, suddenly very aware that I was naked in my boss's bed. This is weird. It doesn't have to be. We work together. So we'll be discreet. He handed me a mug. Drink your coffee. We'll figure it out. What if we can't? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. He kissed my forehead. But I'm not letting you go, Lena. Not now. Possessive much? Extremely. He didn't sound apologetic. Problem? I should have said yes. Should have established boundaries, demanded clarity, protected myself. But his coffee was perfect, and his bed was warm. And for the first time in my life, I felt like someone actually saw me. No problem, I said. We spent the weekend together, not working, actually together. He took me to a restaurant in Brooklyn where the chef owed him a favor. We walked through Central Park and argued about Bordeaux classifications. Had dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Thai place that didn't have a wine list, and Dominic didn't complain once. It felt normal, real, dangerous. Monday morning, we showed up to the office separately, acted professional, pretended nothing had changed. But Patricia took one look at us and shook her head. You two aren't as subtle as you think, she said. I don't know what you're talking about, I replied. Sure you don't. She handed me a folder. Mr. Varela wants to see you in his office. I found Dominic at his desk looking entirely too pleased with himself. Patricia knows, I said. Patricia always knows. She's terrifying that way. This is going to be a problem. Only if we let it be. He stood, came around the desk. I have something for you. He handed me a set of keys. What's this? Apartment. 2 blocks from here. It's yours if you want it. I stared at the keys. You bought me an apartment? I'm renting it for you, under the company. Consider it a relocation bonus. Dominic, you can't keep sleeping on your friend's couch. You need your own space. He folded my fingers around the keys. This isn't charity, Lena. It's practical. It's too much. It's not enough. His expression softened. Let me do this, please. I looked at the keys in my hand, thought about Jules's cramped living room, my stuff still boxed in the corner, the way I'd been living out of a suitcase for a month. Okay, I said, but I'm paying rent. We'll discuss it. Dominic, we'll discuss it, he repeated firmly. Now go look at your new place. Make sure it's acceptable. The apartment was more than acceptable. It was perfect. Hardwood floors, updated kitchen, a bedroom with actual closet space. and a view of the city that made my chest tight. I called Jules from the living room. "He got you an apartment," she said flatly. "Technically, the company got me an apartment." Lena. "I know. I know how this looks." "Do you?" "Because from here, it looks like you're letting a man you barely know control your life." "He's not controlling anything. He's helping." "Is he? Or is he making sure you're dependent on him?" I sat down on the floor. "It's not like that." "Are you sure? Because you've known him for a month, you're sleeping with him, and now you're living in a place he's paying for. What happens when this goes south?" "It won't. You don't know that." "I don't know anything," I admitted. "But I'm doing it anyway." Jules sighed. "Just be careful, okay? I don't want to watch you get hurt again." "I won't." But I wasn't sure I believed it. Moving into the apartment took less than a day. I didn't own much. Most of my belongings were still at Adrian's place, and I had no intention of going back for them. Jules helped me unpack the few boxes I did have, her disapproval radiating like heat. "You're making a mistake," she said, folding sweaters into the bedroom dresser. "You've mentioned that." "I'm mentioning it again. This whole thing with Dominic, it's moving too fast." "My entire life moved too fast. At least this time I'm the one driving." "Are you, though?" She stopped folding, turned to face me. "Or are you just trading one controlling relationship for another?" "Adrian wasn't controlling. He was a cheating bastard. There's a difference." "Is there?" "He wanted you to be someone you weren't. He wanted you small and manageable and grateful." She gestured around the apartment. "How is this different?" "Because Dominic sees me. Actually, sees me. Not who he wants me to be, but who I already am. After 1 month. Sometimes that's all it takes." Jules shook her head but didn't argue further. We finished unpacking in silence, and when she left, the apartment felt too big and too empty. My phone rang. Dominic. "How's the new place?" he asked. "Quiet? Want company?" "You just saw me 3 hours ago." "That was business. This is personal." I could hear the smile in his voice. "I'll bring food." He showed up 40 minutes later with Thai takeout and a bottle of wine that probably cost more than the furniture. We ate on the floor because I didn't have a table yet, and it felt strangely perfect. "Thank you," I said between bites of pad see ew, "for this, for everything." "Stop thanking me. You've earned it." "Have I? Or am I just sleeping with the boss?" His expression darkened. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Diminish what you've accomplished. You closed the Chen deal. You organized an event that brought in $500,000 in new business. You're good at this job, Lena. That has nothing to do with us." "People will think it does. Let them think whatever they want." He set down his food. "I know the truth. You know the truth. That's what matters." I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe this was real and sustainable and not just another disaster waiting to detonate. But wanting and believing were different things. 3 weeks later, Dominic dropped a folder on my desk. "What's this?" I asked. "Cole Vineyard." My stomach clenched. Adrian's family vineyard, the one his grandfather had started, the one Adrian stood to inherit, the one he'd talked about running someday with me beside him. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because it's failing. Has been for years. Adrian's father made some bad investments, took out loans he couldn't repay. The bank's ready to foreclose." I stared at the financial documents. Red numbers everywhere. "How did you get this information?" "I have friends in banking." He leaned against my desk. "The vineyard goes to auction next month. I'm thinking about buying it." "Why?" "Because it's a good investment. Prime Napa land, established infrastructure, solid reputation despite the mismanagement." He paused. "And because I want to give you something." "I don't understand." "Revenge, Lena. The man who betrayed you is about to lose his family legacy. I can make sure it happens. Better yet, I can make sure you're the one who takes it from him." My heart was pounding. "You want me to run it?" "I want you to own it. I'll front the purchase price. You'll manage the operations. We split the profit 60-40, your favor. In 5 years, you buy me out completely." It was insane. It was perfect. It was everything I'd ever wanted wrapped in the exact revenge I hadn't known I needed. "This is crazy," I said. "This is justice." He pulled me to my feet. "Adrian took something from you. Take something from him. His family will be destroyed. His family destroyed themselves with poor decisions. I'm just capitalizing on their failure. His hands framed my face. Say yes, Lena. Let me do this for you. I thought about Adrian's face when he found out. Sophia's tears. The Cole family name attached to a vineyard I controlled. Yes, I said. The auction happened on a cold November morning. I sat in the back of the room while Dominic's lawyer handled the bidding. Adrian was there with his father, both of them looking like they'd aged a decade in 3 months. Adrian saw me. His face went white. The bidding started at $2 million, went up in $100,000 increments. 3 other buyers competed, but Dominic's lawyer kept raising. $3 million, 3.5, $4 million. Adrian's father stopped bidding at 4.2. Couldn't go higher. The vineyard sold to Varela Imports for $4.3 million, and I watched Adrian's entire world collapse in real time. He found me in the parking lot afterwards. You did this, he said. His voice shook. You and Varela, you planned this. I didn't plan anything. Your father's bad decisions did this. Bullshit. This is revenge. Maybe. I met his eyes. How does it feel? Losing something you thought was yours forever? That vineyard has been in my family for 3 generations. And now it's mine. I pulled out the keys Dominic's lawyer had given me. Every acre, every vine, every bottle with your family name on it. You're a vindictive bitch. I'm a businesswoman. There's a difference. I walked toward my car. Enjoy explaining to your family how you lost everything. Lena, wait. His voice cracked. Please. There has to be something we can do. Some arrangement, there isn't. I'm begging you. You should have thought about that before you fucked my sister. I opened my car door. Goodbye, Adrian. Good luck with whatever comes next. I drove away without looking back, and only when I was 10 miles down the road did I pull over and throw up on the side of the highway. Revenge felt nothing like I'd expected. It didn't feel good. It felt hollow and sick and wrong. But I'd done it anyway. Dominic called while I was still sitting on the shoulder, wiping my mouth with a tissue. How do you feel? He asked. Like I just destroyed someone's life. You didn't destroy anything. You took an opportunity. It doesn't feel like an opportunity. It feels like I'm becoming someone I don't recognize. You're becoming someone who doesn't let people walk all over her. That's not a bad thing. Isn't it? He was quiet for a moment. Come home. We'll talk about this. Home? My place. Your place. Wherever you want. Just come back. I went to his apartment, found him waiting with wine and understanding, and I cried into his shoulder for an hour while he held me and didn't say a word. I thought it would feel better, I said finally. Taking something from him, making him hurt the way he hurt me. Revenge never feels the way you think it will. You sound like you know from experience. I do. He poured more wine. After my father died, I spent years hunting down everyone involved, made sure they paid, lost pieces of myself doing it. Do you regret it? Sometimes. But it taught me something important. What? That revenge is empty, but building something that lasts, that matters, that's what gives you power. He touched my face. So stop thinking about what you took from Adrian. Start thinking about what you're going to build. The vineyard became my obsession. I spent every spare moment there, learning the land, meeting the staff, studying the vines. It was in worse shape than the paperwork suggested. Equipment failing, soil degraded, half the vines diseased. We need to replant, I told Dominic during one of our weekly reviews. At least 40% of the acreage. How much? 2 million, maybe more. He didn't hesitate. Do it. That's on top of what you already spent. I know the numbers. Do it anyway. He studied the vineyard maps I'd spread across his desk. This isn't about breaking even in year 1. This is about building something legendary. It'll take years. Good things usually do. I hired a new vineyard manager, brought in soil consultants, invested in organic farming practices, spent 16-hour days in Napa, coming back to the city exhausted and covered in dirt. Dominic met me at the door one night, took one look at me, and laughed. You look like you wrestled a vine and lost. I've been pruning since 6 this morning. Come here. He pulled me toward the bathroom. You need a shower. I need food and sleep. Shower first, then I'll order food. We ended up in his massive bathroom, him washing dirt out of my hair while I leaned against the tile and tried not to fall asleep standing up. You're working too hard, he said. I'm working exactly as hard as I need to. You're going to burn out. I'm fine.
Oh, Lena, I'm fine, I insisted. This vineyard is mine, Dominic. Mine to build, mine to control. I'm not giving that up because I'm tired. He turned off the water, wrapped me in a towel. I'm not asking you to give it up. I'm asking you to take care of yourself. Why? So I don't damage your investment? His jaw tightened. So you don't damage yourself.
We stared at each other, water dripping onto expensive tile, and I saw something in his expression that scared me more than anything else. He cared, actually cared, not about the vineyard or the business or the return on investment, about me. I don't know how to do this, I said quietly. Do what? Let someone care without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then don't wait, just let it happen. What if you leave? I won't. You don't know that. I do. He pulled me closer. I'm not Adrian. I'm not your sister. I'm not anyone who's ever disappointed you before. I'm me, and I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. I wanted to believe him, wanted it so badly my chest ached, but belief required trust, and trust required vulnerability, and vulnerability had only ever gotten me hurt. Still, I stayed in his arms and let myself pretend just for a moment that maybe this time would be different. The vineyard's first harvest under my management happened in September. I walked the rows with my new manager, Carlos, assessing the fruit, making decisions about timing. Another week, I told him. The sugar levels aren't quite right. You sure? Weather's changing. I'm sure. We wait. We waited. And when we finally harvested, the grapes were perfect, beautiful, exactly what we needed to make something extraordinary. I called Dominic from the vineyard. It's done, I said. We brought in 30 tons. How's it look? Better than anything the Coles ever produced. That's my girl. Pride saturated his voice. When are you back? Tomorrow night. I want to oversee the sorting. Take your time. Do it right. I did it right. Spent 3 days in the winery, working alongside the crew, learning fermentation schedules, tasting from barrel to barrel. This was mine. Every grape, every barrel, every decision. And it felt like finally, I was building something that couldn't be taken away. The first bottles wouldn't be ready for years. But I could see it already. The label design, the marketing strategy, the way we'd position it in the market as a resurrection story, old vineyard, new vision, extraordinary results. Adrian called while I was driving back to the city. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. What do you want? I said. I heard about the harvest. And I wanted to say, he paused. It's good. What you're doing there. My grandfather would have approved. Your grandfather would have been ashamed of how you let it fall apart. I know. His voice was quiet. I know, okay? I fucked up. With the vineyard, with you, with everything. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know I'm sorry, for all of it. Sophia and I, we're not together anymore. She went back to Mom's. I'm trying to figure out what comes next. I should have felt vindicated, should have felt something resembling satisfaction. Instead, I felt tired. Good luck with that, I said. Lena, I know I don't deserve it, but if there's any way we could... There isn't. We're done, Adrian. We've been done since the night you brought my sister to my event. I merged onto the highway. Don't call me again. I hung up and blocked his number for the final time. Dominic was waiting when I got back to the city. He took one look at my face and knew. Adrian? He asked. How did you know? You have that look, the one you get when you're processing something you didn't expect. He apologized, said he screwed up. Do you believe him? I don't care enough to decide. I dropped my bag on the floor. I just want to forget he exists. That can be arranged. Dominic pulled me close. I have something for you. Another gift? You need to stop buying me things. It's not a gift. It's business. He handed me an envelope. Open it. Inside was a deed, my name on it, for the vineyard. What is this? I asked. The vineyard. It's yours. Full ownership. I had my lawyers transfer it this morning. I stared at the document. But we agreed. 60-40 split.
I buy you out in 5 years. I change my mind. You've put everything into that place, your time, your expertise, your heart. It should be yours outright. Dominic, this is worth millions. I know what it's worth. He touched my face. You're worth more. I can't accept this. You can. You will. Why are you doing this? He looked at me like the answer should be obvious. Because I love you. The words hung between us, massive and terrifying. You don't mean that, I said. I do. You can't. We've only been together for 6 months. Long enough to know. He didn't back down, didn't look away. I love you, Lena. Have for a while now. Thought you should know. My chest felt too tight. I can't. I don't. You don't have to say it back. I'm not asking for anything. He kissed my forehead. I just needed you to know. He walked away, leaving me standing in his living room holding a deed to a vineyard and a declaration I had no idea how to handle. I didn't say it back. Couldn't. The words stuck in my throat every time I tried. But I stayed. Kept working. Kept building. Kept falling deeper into something I didn't know how to name. December brought the first real test. Dominic's business, the parts he didn't talk about, the connections he kept separate from the restaurants and the wine, started attracting attention, federal attention. It's routine, he told me when I asked about the suited men who'd been seen leaving his office. Just questions about some imports. What kind of imports? The kind you don't need to worry about. Dominic, Lena. His voice was firm. This doesn't involve you. Keep focused on the vineyard. But it did involve me. Because we were together. Because his business and mine were tangled. Because if he went down, I'd go down with him. Patricia pulled me aside one afternoon. You should distance yourself, she said. Whatever's coming, you don't want to be caught in it. I'm not leaving him. Even if it costs you everything? Everything's already cost me everything. What's one more time? She studied me with something like pity. You really love him. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The investigation intensified. Subpoenas, depositions, lawyers everywhere. Dominic stopped sleeping, started drinking more, and I watched him carry weight that would have crushed smaller men. Talk to me, I said one night. Tell me what's happening. I made some deals a few years ago, shortcuts, things that seemed smart at the time. He stared at his scotch. Now they're coming back. How bad? Bad enough that I might lose everything. The restaurants? Everything. The restaurants, the collection, the company. He looked at me. You should get out now, before this touches you. No. Lena, I'm serious. If they decide to make an example, then they make an example. I'm not leaving. You're stubborn. I'm loyal. There's a difference. He pulled me into his arms, held on like I was the only solid thing left. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you've got me anyway. The vineyard became my refuge. Every time the pressure in the city became too much, I'd drive to Napa and lose myself in the work. Carlos understood without asking questions. Just put me to tasks that required physical labor and no thinking. But even there, I couldn't escape completely. A federal agent showed up one afternoon. Suit, badge, questions. Ms. Cross? I'm Agent Morrison. I'd like to ask you some questions about Dominic Varela. My stomach dropped. I don't know what you think I can tell you. How long have you been involved with Mr. Varela? I work for him, that's all. That's not what our sources indicate. Then your sources are wrong. He pulled out photos. Me and Dominic leaving his apartment, having dinner, kissing outside one of his restaurants. Still want to claim it's just professional? He asked. I kept my face neutral. My personal life isn't your business. It is when your personal life involves a man under federal investigation for money laundering, tax evasion, and racketeering. He leaned forward. Help us, Ms. Cross. Tell us what you know. We can protect you. There's nothing to protect me from. You sure about that? Because Mr. Varela's associates have a habit of disappearing when things get complicated. I'm not disappearing, and I'm not talking to you without a lawyer. He handed me a card. When you change your mind, call me. Before it's too late. He left, and I sat in the winery office shaking. I called Dominic. They came to the vineyard, I said. Federal agent, asking questions.
Silence. Then, what did you tell them? Nothing. I said I needed a lawyer. Good. Don't talk to them again. I'll have my attorney contact you. Dominic, what's happening? They're building a case, trying to flip anyone connected to me. His voice was tight. I'm handling it. How? You don't need those details.
Stop protecting me. I'm not fragile. No, but you're innocent, and I need you to stay that way. He hung up, and I threw my phone across the room. The next few weeks were a nightmare. More subpoenas, more questions. Dominic's lawyers everywhere trying to contain the damage. And through it all, I kept working, kept building, kept pretending my entire world wasn't crumbling. Jules called weekly, begging me to leave. He's going to take you down with him, she said. Can't you see that? I can see fine. Then why are you still there? Because I love him. The words came out before I could stop them. I love him, Jules. I can't just walk away. Even if it destroys you? Even then. She sighed. You're an idiot. I know. But knowing didn't change anything. By February, the case was solid. Dominic's lawyer laid it out in brutal detail. Money laundering through the restaurants, tax evasion on the imports, connections to organizations that made the mafia look tame. They're offering a deal, the lawyer said. Plead guilty to the financial crimes, testify about your connections, and you'll get 8 years, maybe less with good behavior. And if I don't take it, Dominic asked, trial. And if you lose, you're looking at 25 to life. What about the businesses? Seized, all of them. The government gets everything. I sat beside Dominic, holding his hand, watching his empire die in real time. What about Lena? He asked. What about her? She's protected? They can't touch her or the vineyard. The lawyer consulted his notes. The vineyard's in her name, clean purchase, documented trail. They have no grounds to seize it. Make sure it stays that way. Whatever happens to me, she walks away clean. Dominic, I started. No arguments. He squeezed my hand. This isn't negotiable. He took the deal, pled guilty to crimes I didn't fully understand, agreed to cooperate, and accepted 8 years in federal prison. The sentencing hearing was quick. The judge looked at Dominic with disgust, talked about trust and betrayal, and the importance of making examples. 8 years, eligible for parole in 6. I sat in the courtroom and watched them take him away in handcuffs, and something inside me shattered. Afterwards, his lawyer handed me an envelope. He wanted you to have this. Inside was a letter. Lena, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I'm sorry. Sorry for dragging you into this. Sorry for making you love someone who couldn't protect you from the fallout. Sorry for all of it. The vineyard is yours. Build something extraordinary. Make it everything we talked about. Don't let this destroy what you've created. I love you. I've loved you since that night at the gala when you asked a stranger to kiss you. I'll love you when I get out. And if you've moved on by then, I'll understand. You deserve better than waiting for a man in prison. But if you do wait, if you choose to, I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making it worth it. Yours, D. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully, put it in my pocket, and walked out of that courthouse alone. The apartment felt like a tomb without him. Every surface held memories, the couch where we'd talked until dawn, the kitchen where he'd taught me to make proper espresso, the bedroom where I'd finally told him I loved him 3 days before the sentencing. Too little, too late. I lasted 1 night there before packing a bag and driving to Napa. The vineyard didn't judge, didn't ask questions, just waited for me to decide what came next. Carlos found me in this barrel room at 3 in the morning, tasting wine I had no business tasting at that hour. You okay, boss? He asked. No, but I will be. You want to talk about it? Not even a little bit. He nodded, grabbed a glass, poured himself some of the same wine. This is good, really good. Another year and it'll be exceptional. You think? I know. He swirled the glass, studying the color. You built something here, Lena. Don't forget that. Hard to remember when everything else is falling apart. Everything else doesn't matter. This does. He gestured around the barrel room. This is yours. Can't take it away. Can't destroy it. Can't do anything except watch it get better. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that work could fill the Dominic-shaped hole in my chest. But believing required energy I didn't have.
Jules showed up 2 days later, unannounced, with suitcases and determination. "I'm staying," she said. "Don't argue." "I'm fine alone." "You're a mess alone. There's a difference." She hauled her bags inside the small house I'd been using on the vineyard property. "I can work remote for a few weeks. You need someone to make sure you eat and sleep and don't completely self-destruct." "I'm not self-destructing." "You've lost 10 pounds and you look like you haven't slept since the sentencing. That's the definition of self-destructing." She wasn't wrong. We fell into a routine. Jules worked from the kitchen table during the day while I threw myself into the vineyard. Nights we cooked together, drank wine I was trying not to think about too hard, and pretended everything was normal. It almost worked. The first letter from Dominic came 3 weeks after sentencing. Federal Correctional Institution in Pennsylvania. Standard prison envelope, his handwriting on the front. I stared at it for an hour before opening it. "Lena, they have me in medium security. Could be worse. My lawyer's already working on getting me transferred somewhere closer to New York, but no promises. I think about you constantly. Wonder if you're sleeping, if you're eating, if you're taking care of yourself the way you take care of everything else. I know I have no right to ask, but write back if you can. Even just a line. Something to prove you're still out there. Missing you more than I thought possible." D. Jules found me crying in the kitchen. "He wrote you," she said. Not a question. "Yeah." "Are you going to write back?" "I don't know. Should I?" She sat down across from me. "Do you want to?" "Yes." "No, I don't know what I want anymore." "Then start with what you need. What do you need, Lena?" I looked at the letter, at Dominic's careful handwriting, at the prison address that would be his home for the next 6 to 8 years. "I need him to know I'm still here," I said quietly. "Then tell him." I wrote back that night, kept it simple. Told him about the vineyard, about the wines developing in barrel, about Carlos's confidence in the next vintage. Didn't mention the crying or the nightmares or the way I'd stopped being able to sleep in a bed that still smelled like him. Signed it L and sent it before I could change my mind. His response came faster than expected. "L, thank you for writing back. You have no idea what it means to hear from you. To know you're still working, still building, still being the remarkable person I fell in love with. Tell me more about the vineyard. Tell me everything. I want to hear about every decision, every problem, every success. It's the only thing keeping me sane in here. Also, Patricia came to visit. She wanted to make sure you're okay. I told her you're stronger than all of us combined. Was I right? Always yours, D." The letters became a lifeline. Once a week, then twice, then nearly daily. I told him everything. The new equipment I'd purchased, the organic certification process I'd started, the wine club I was building. He told me about prison life in careful detail, editing out the worst parts, focusing on small victories. And somewhere in those letters, I found a version of us that worked. Distance made things simpler, clearer. We couldn't fight about his business, or my stubbornness, or the complications of being together. We could just be. Patricia called me 4 months after Dominic went away. "I need to talk to you about the company," she said. "What company?" "The government seized everything." "Not everything. There are pieces they couldn't touch, legitimate businesses that were never part of the criminal enterprise." She paused. "Dominic wants you to take over." "What?" "No, I don't know anything about running restaurants." "You know about wine. You know about building something from nothing. That's more than most people have." Her voice softened. "He trusts you, Lena. And frankly, so do I." This is insane. Everything about this situation is insane, but we work with what we have. She sent me files, financial statements, business plans, projections. "Look these over. Think about it. We have a meeting next week with his lawyers to discuss transition." I spent 3 days reviewing everything. The restaurants that remained, 4 of them, all clean, all profitable. The import business that had been restructured, scrubbed of anything illegal. The wine storage facility that housed collections for dozens of clients. It was manageable. Barely. "You're actually considering this," Jules said, watching me work through spreadsheets at 2 in the morning. "I think I am." "Why? You already have the vineyard. You don't need this." "No, but Dominic built this. Spent years creating something that mattered. I can't just let it die because he made mistakes. His mistakes put him in prison for 8 years. I know. I closed my laptop. But his dreams are still worth something, even if he can't be here to see them through. The meeting with the lawyers confirmed it. I could take over operations, run things until Dominic's release, potentially buy him out completely if that made more legal sense. It's a lot of responsibility, one of them warned, and there's still risk. If investigators find new evidence connecting these businesses to the criminal activities, they won't, I interrupted, because I'll make damn sure everything is spotless. Every transaction documented, every decision above board. No shortcuts, no gray areas. Patricia smiled. That's what I told them you'd say. I took over in June, spent my weeks in the city managing restaurants and imports, my weekends in Napa working the vineyard, slept maybe 4 hours a night, lived on coffee and stubborn determination. Jules moved back to the city but checked on me constantly. You're going to kill yourself, she said during one particularly brutal week when I'd worked 90 hours between both businesses. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're running yourself into the ground trying to hold together an empire for a man in prison. It's not his empire anymore. It's mine. I looked at her. I'm not doing this for him, Jules. I'm doing it for me. Because I can. Because I'm good at it. Because for the first time in my life, I'm building something that's completely mine and no one can take it away. What happens when he gets out? I don't know. We'll figure it out then. Do you still love him? The question hung between us. Yes, I said finally. I hate that I do, but yes. Even after everything? Even after everything. I visited Dominic for the first time 8 months after his sentencing. The prison was exactly as grim as expected. Concrete and wire, guards everywhere. The smell of industrial cleaning solution and despair. They led me to a visiting room. Plastic chairs, vending machines, other inmates with their families. And then Dominic walked in. He looked different, thinner, harder. Prison haircut, standard issue clothes, a wariness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. But when he saw me, his face transformed. Lena. My name sounded like a prayer. Hi. I sat down across from him, hands shaking. You look like shit. I know. He smiled slightly. You look beautiful. I look exhausted. Beautiful and exhausted. He reached across the table, stopped himself. Can I? Yes. He took my hand and I felt the contact all the way to my bones. I'm so sorry, he said, for all of this, for dragging you into my mess. I walked into it with my eyes open. Still, you didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for a lot of things, including falling in love with you. I squeezed his hand. But here we are. You said it. In a letter, but you said you loved me. I did. I do. I looked at him directly. I love you, Dominic Varela. Even though you're an idiot who made terrible choices, even though you're sitting in prison and I'm running your businesses and our entire situation is completely insane. I love you too. His voice cracked. More than anything. We sat there holding hands across a prison table, and it should have been pathetic, should have felt like defeat. Instead, it felt like the most honest thing either of us had ever done. The visits became monthly, then bi-weekly when I could manage it. We talked about the businesses, about the vineyard, about plans for when he got out. Built a future in careful increments, one conversation at a time. And slowly, impossibly, things started working. The restaurants thrived. The import business expanded. The vineyard's first vintage under my complete control won awards. I was succeeding. Actually, succeeding. Building the empire Dominic had dreamed of, making it better, stronger, cleaner. Patricia pulled me aside after a particularly successful quarter. He'd be proud, she said. What you've done here. He's not dead. He can be proud when he gets out. Still, you've exceeded every expectation. She handed me a folder, including mine. Inside were profit statements that made my head spin. This can't be right, I said. It is. You've tripled revenue in 18 months. The vineyard alone is worth 5 times what Dominic paid for it. How? Hard work, smart decisions, and the fact that you don't cut corners. She smiled. You're better at this than he was, Lena. You know that, right? I didn't know what to say to that. The second year was harder. Dominic's appeal was denied. His transfer request to a facility closer to New York got lost in bureaucratic hell. I threw myself deeper into work, trying to fill the space where hope used to live. Christmas was brutal. I spent it alone in Napa, walking the vineyard rows, thinking about all the things that should have been different. My phone rang at midnight. Unknown number. Hello? You have a prepaid call from... A pause, then Dominic's voice. Dominic Varela, an inmate at... I pressed the button to accept. Lena? You there? I'm here. Merry Christmas. His voice sounded rough. I know it's not much calling like this, but I wanted to hear your voice. I'm glad you called. Are you alone? Yeah. Me too. He laughed without humor. Well, not technically alone, but alone in the ways that matter. I miss you, I said. I know I don't say it enough in the letters, but I do. Every single day. I miss you too. Miss your voice, your face, the way you argue with me about wine. I don't argue. I correct your obvious mistakes. He laughed for real this time. There's my girl. We talked until the 15-minute limit ran out, and when the call disconnected, I sat in the dark and cried. Jules called an hour later. Where are you? She asked. Napa? Alone on Christmas? Lena? I'm fine. Dominic called. Oh. Her tone softened. How is he? He's in prison. How do you think? I think you're both suffering, and I don't know how to help. You can't help. Nobody can. We just have to get through it. How much longer? 4 more years, maybe less with good behavior. And you're really going to wait? What else am I going to do? Live your life. Date someone who isn't in federal prison. Build something that doesn't revolve around a man who... Don't. My voice went sharp. Don't finish that sentence. I'm worried about you. Don't be. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I was hollow and exhausted and holding together by pure stubbornness. The vineyard saved me. 3rd harvest, 4th, 5th. Each one better than the last. Wine that won competitions, got written up in magazines, built a reputation that had nothing to do with Dominic or revenge or anything except quality. I hired more staff, expanded production, started a tasting room that became a destination. And through it all, I wrote to Dominic, told him everything, made him part of it even though he couldn't be there. Year 3, his transfer finally came through. Otisville, New York. 2 hours from the city instead of 5. I can visit more, I told him during our first visit at the new facility. You don't have to. I know you're busy. I want to. I reached for his hand. You're not a burden, Dominic. You're the reason I'm doing any of this. That's not true. You'd be successful with or without me. Maybe, but I wouldn't have had the chance without you. I studied his face. You gave me that, the vineyard, the opportunity, the confidence to build something extraordinary. I don't forget that. I gave you a chance. You did everything else. We stared at each other across the table, and I saw something shift in his expression. What? I asked. I love you. I know I say it constantly, but I need you to understand. I love you more than I've ever loved anything. You're the only thing that kept me human in here. You're the only thing that kept me going out there. When I get out, he stopped, started again. If you still want me when I get out, I want to do this right. No more shortcuts, no more gray areas, just us building something real. We're already building something real. You are. I'm just cheering from the sidelines. That's enough. I squeezed his hand. You being here, supporting this, believing in me, that's enough, Dominic. Year 4 brought parole hearings, appeals, legal maneuvering that raised hope and crushed it in equal measure. They denied it again, his lawyer told me after the 3rd hearing. But we're getting closer. His record inside is spotless. Next hearing is in 6 months. 6 more months. I could do 6 more months. I threw myself into launching a second label for the vineyard. Premium wines, limited production, price points that would have made me laugh 5 years ago. They sold out in 3 weeks. You're a phenomenon, my distributor said. Everyone wants a piece of what you're building. It's just wine. It's never just wine, not when you make it. He leaned back in his chair. I'm hearing interest from international markets, Japan, Singapore. You ready for that level of expansion? I don't know, maybe. Think about it. You could be one of the top producers in California. I thought about it, talked to Carlos, ran numbers, made plans. And when I visited Dominic that weekend, I told him everything. Do it, he said immediately. International expansion. That's huge, Lena. It's also expensive, risky. You've been taking risks since the day we met. This is just another one. What if I fail? You won't, but if you do, you'll recover. That's what you do. He smiled. You're the most resilient person I've ever met. Use it. I started the expansion, hired a team, negotiated contracts, flew to Tokyo and Singapore to meet distributors, built an empire that bore my name, my vision, my work, and came back to tell Dominic about every success, every challenge, every moment. The fifth parole hearing happened on a Tuesday in October. I sat in the parking lot outside the facility, waiting for the lawyer's call. When my phone rang, I almost couldn't answer. They approved it, he said. He's out in 3 months. I sat there in my car and shook. Relief, terror, joy, anxiety, everything at once. 3 months. After 5 years, 3 months felt like nothing and everything. I called Jules. He's getting out, I said. Oh, Lena, how do you feel? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about anything anymore. Do you still love him? Yes. Do you still want this? I thought about Dominic's letters, his calls, the way he'd supported every decision from behind bars. The man who'd given me everything and asked for nothing except that I keep building. Yes, I said. I still want this. Then that's all that matters. The 3 months crawled. I prepared for his release like I was preparing for war. Got the apartment ready, the one we'd shared before, cleaned and updated, made sure the businesses were in perfect shape for his return, planned everything down to the smallest detail, and tried not to think about what would happen if 5 years had changed us too much to go back. Release day came in January, cold and clear. I drove to Otisville alone, parked in the visitor's lot, and waited. He walked out at 9:47 a.m., no longer in prison clothes, wearing the suit I'd sent ahead. Thinner than I remembered, harder, but still Dominic, still mine. He saw me standing by the car and stopped, just stopped, like he couldn't believe I was real. I walked toward him, met him halfway. Hi, I said. Hi. His voice was rough. You came. Of course I came. Where else would I be? He pulled me into his arms, and I felt 5 years of separation collapse into this single moment. His face in my hair, my hands fisting in his jacket, both of us holding on like we'd drown if we let go. I love you, he said against my temple. I never stopped, not for a single second. I love you too, even when I wanted to hate you, even when it hurt. I pulled back to look at him. You ready to come home? I've been ready for 5 years. We drove back to the city in silence, his hand in mine, both of us processing what came next. The apartment looked the same. I'd kept everything exactly as it was. His books on the shelves, his wine collection intact, the bed made with the sheets he liked. Dominic walked through each room like he was in a museum. You kept it all, he said. I didn't know what else to do with it. He turned to face me. I don't know how to do this, how to be out, how to be normal. Neither do I. We'll figure it out together. What if I'm different? What if 5 years broke something that can't be fixed? I walked to him, took his face in my hands. Then we'll build something new. That's what we do, Dominic. We build. He kissed me, and it was different from before, desperate and careful all at once. 5 years of longing packed into a single moment. When we finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. Show me what you built, he said. Show me everything. So I did. Took him to the restaurants, to the import facility, to the wine storage. Showed him the businesses he'd started that I'd grown into something bigger. And then I drove him to Napa. The vineyard had changed, expanded. The original property plus 2 adjacent parcels I'd purchased last year. New buildings, new equipment, rows and rows of vines producing fruit that won awards. Carlos met us at the winery. Boss, he said to me. Then to Dominic. Mr. Varela? Just Dominic. He shook Carlos's hand. Lena's told me everything you've done here. Thank you for taking care of this place.
Lena did all the work. I just followed her lead. We toured the facility. Dominic tasted wines from barrel, asked questions, listened to my plans for the next 5 years. And when we were finally alone in the barrel room, he pulled me close. "This is extraordinary," he said. "Everything you built, everything you became." We became. This was always ours. No.
He kissed my forehead. "This is yours, Lena. I gave you a chance. You made it legendary." We stood there surrounded by barrels of aging wine, and I felt something settle. 5 years of waiting, of working, of building, finally complete. The first month after Dominic's release was harder than either of us expected. He couldn't sleep, paced the apartment at night, jumped at sudden noises, struggled with crowds. 5 years in prison had left marks that went deeper than either of us wanted to admit. "I'm broken," he said one night, standing by the window at 3 a.m. "I don't know how to fix this." I got out of bed, went to him. "You're not broken, you're adjusting." "It's been 4 weeks, Lena. I should be better by now."
Says who? There's no timeline for this. I wrapped my arms around him from behind. Give yourself time. What if I can't get back to who I was? Then you become someone new, someone better. He turned to face me. You really believe that? I have to, because the alternative is giving up, and we don't do that. He kissed me, and I tasted desperation and hope in equal measure. The businesses helped. Dominic threw himself into work with the same intensity he'd had before, relearning operations, meeting with staff, rebuilding relationships. Patricia watched him carefully, protective in a way that made my chest tight. "He's struggling," she told me privately, "more than he's letting on." "I know. Are you okay? Taking care of him on top of everything else?" "I'm managing." That's not what I asked. I looked at her. "I don't know how to be okay right now, Patricia. I spent 5 years building all of this so it would be ready for him. Now he's here and it's not what I thought it would be." "What did you think it would be?" "Easier. Happier. Less complicated." I rubbed my face. "I thought we'd pick up where we left off, but we can't. Too much has changed." "So you build something new. That's what you two do best." She was right. But knowing it and doing it were different things. The vineyard became our refuge again. We spent weekends in Napa, Dominic working alongside Carlos, relearning the rhythms of viticulture. The physical labor helped, grounded him, gave him something tangible to focus on. "I forgot how good this feels," he said one Saturday, covered in dirt from pruning vines. "Working with my hands, creating something real. Better than managing restaurants? Different. Both matter. But this," he gestured at the vineyard stretching toward the hills. "This is legacy." We were tasting barrel samples when he said, "I want to marry you." I nearly choked on a 2022 Cabernet. "What?" "Marry me. Not now. I know we need time, but eventually, when we've figured out how to be us again." He set down his glass. "I want to build a life with you, Lena. The kind that lasts." "Dominic, you don't have to answer now. I just needed you to know. That's where I'm headed. That's what I want." He touched my face. "Unless you don't. And if you don't, tell me now so I can stop hoping." "I want it too," I said quietly. "But I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of losing this. Of building something beautiful and watching it fall apart. Of—" I stopped, started again. "Of not being enough." "Not being enough?" He looked genuinely confused. "Lena, you built an empire while I was gone. You're more than enough. You're everything." "That's the problem. I built all of this for you." What happens when you realize it's not what you wanted? When you decide I'm not what you wanted? That's not going to happen. You don't know that. I do. He pulled me closer. I spent 5 years in prison watching you succeed through letters and phone calls and occasional visits. I fell more in love with you every single day. You think that's going to change now that I'm free? People change. Feelings change. Not mine. Not about you. He kissed my forehead. But I understand the fear, so we'll take it slow. Build trust. Prove to each other this is real. How long?
however long it takes. Jules visited the vineyard in March, took one look at us, and shook her head. "You two are a mess," she said. "Thanks, really helpful," I replied. "I'm serious. You're both so busy being careful with each other that you're not actually being together." She poured herself wine from one of our reserve bottles. "When are you going to stop tiptoeing and just live?" "It's complicated." "Everything with you is complicated. That's not an excuse." Dominic emerged from the winery, spotted Jules, and smiled. The voice of reason arrives. "Someone has to be," she pointed at him. "You. Stop treating Lena like she's made of glass. She's not going to break." "I know that." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're so afraid of screwing this up that you're not actually participating." She turned to me. "And you. Stop waiting for him to leave. He spent 5 years in prison dreaming about coming back to you. He's not going anywhere." We both stared at her. "Now," she said, "I'm going to take this very expensive wine and go sit by the vines. You two are going to stay here and have an actual honest conversation. Don't come find me until you've figured your shit out." She left. We stood in awkward silence. "She's not wrong," Dominic said finally. "No, she's not." I sat down on one of the barrels. "I have been waiting for you to leave." "Why?" "Because everyone leaves. Adrian, Sophia. My mom stopped calling after I took the vineyard. Even you left, in a way." "I went to prison. That's not the same as choosing to leave you." "I know, but it felt the same. It felt like I wasn't enough to keep you safe." "Lena." He knelt in front of me. "My choices put me in prison, not you. Never you. You kept everything alive while I was gone. You built something extraordinary. The only reason I survived those 5 years was knowing you were out here, fighting for this." "I'm tired of fighting." "Then stop. We're on the same side now. We can build together instead of apart." I looked at him, really looked, saw the man I'd fallen in love with, changed by time and consequence, but still fundamentally him. "Okay," I said. "No more tiptoeing, no more waiting for disaster. We do this for real or not at all." "For real," he agreed, "starting now." He kissed me, and it felt different, less careful, more honest, like we were finally admitting this was messy and complicated and worth fighting for anyway. Jules found us an hour later, still in the winery, talking about everything we'd been too afraid to say. "Better?" she asked. "Getting there," I said. "Good. Now open another bottle. I didn't drive all the way to Napa to drink cheap wine." Spring brought new challenges. A competitor launched a smear campaign claiming our wines were overpriced and overhyped. Restaurant critics started questioning the quality of Dominic's establishments now that he was back. The federal investigation, while closed, left shadows that people loved to whisper about. "Ignore it," Patricia advised during a particularly brutal week. "You're successful. People resent that. Let your work speak for itself." But it was hard to ignore when sales dipped, when reservations dropped, when distributors started taking longer to return calls. "We need to do something," I told Dominic. "We're losing momentum." "What do you suggest?" "A showcase. Invite critics, distributors, influential collectors. Show them what we've built. Let the work speak for itself, like Patricia said." "That's risky." "If it doesn't go well, then we'll deal with it, but doing nothing is riskier." We planned the event for June, held it at the vineyard, a full weekend showcasing our wines, pairing dinners at the restaurants, tours of the facilities, invited everyone who mattered and a few who didn't just to fill the room. The week before, I had a panic attack. Dominic found me in the vineyard at midnight, hyperventilating among the vines. "What if nobody comes?" I gasped. "What if they come and hate everything? What if we've built all of this and it means nothing?" "Hey, look at me." He took my face in his hands. "Breathe, just breathe." I tried. Failed. Tried again. "This is everything," I said when I could speak. "If this fails, we lose it all." "We don't lose it all. We lose some business. We recover. We keep building." He pulled me against his chest. "You've been carrying all of this alone for so long. Let me help. Let me share the weight." "I don't know how." "Start by telling me what you need." "I need this to work. I need people to see what we've created. I stopped. "I need to prove that I didn't waste 5 years of my life." You didn't waste anything. You built something remarkable. Whether or not these people appreciate it doesn't change that. It changes everything. No, it changes nothing. Because we know what this is worth. We know what you've accomplished. That's what matters. I wanted to believe him, wanted to believe our worth wasn't tied to other people's opinions. But I'd spent my entire career fighting for recognition, for respect, for someone to look at my work and say it mattered. Old habits died hard. The event started on a Friday evening. 50 guests arrived for a welcome reception, critics, collectors, distributors from 3 countries. I greeted each one with a smile I didn't feel, poured wines I'd spent years perfecting, and pretended my entire future wasn't balanced on their reactions. Dominic worked the room with practiced ease. 5 years in prison hadn't dulled his social skills. If anything, he was better, more present, more genuine, less performative. "This is exceptional," one critic said, swirling a 2021 Pinot Noir. "I expected good, but this is remarkable." "Thank you," I managed. "Tell me about your process. How did you achieve this level of complexity?" I explained terroir, organic practices, barrel selection. Fell into the rhythm of talking about wine, and for the first time that night, my hands stopped shaking. The dinner Saturday night was the real test. 7 courses, each paired with our wines, prepared by Dominic's head chef. We'd planned every detail obsessively. If this didn't work, nothing would. I sat at the head table, barely able to eat, watching faces for reactions. The 3rd course, duck with a cherry reduction paired with our 2020 Syrah, got visible responses. People stopped talking. Tasted. Tasted again. One of Tokyo's biggest distributors set down his glass and looked at me. "This is extraordinary," he said. "I want to discuss an exclusive agreement." My heart stuttered. "Exclusive?" "For the Japanese market. I think we can move significant volume." Beside me, Dominic's hand found mine under the table. Squeezed. By dessert, we had 3 serious offers and half a dozen requests for private tastings. The critics were taking notes. The collectors were asking about allocations. It was working. After the guests left, Dominic and I stood in the vineyard under a sky full of stars. "We did it," I said. "You did it. This was your vision." "Our vision. You started this. I just kept it alive." "No, you made it better. Made it legendary." He turned to face me. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small box. My breath caught. "This isn't a proposal," he said quickly. "Not yet, but it's a promise." Inside was a ring, simple band, single diamond, understated and perfect. "When you're ready," he said, "when we've proven to each other this is real and lasting, when you trust that I'm not going anywhere, ask me then." "Ask you." "To marry you." "I want you to ask me, Lena. I want you to choose this. Choose us. When you're ready." I stared at the ring, at his face, at the vineyard stretching into darkness. "I'm ready now," I said. "You're caught up in the moment, the success. Ask me when you're sure." "I am sure. I've been sure since you got out, since before that." I took the ring from the box. "Dominic Varela, will you marry me?" He laughed, and it sounded like relief and joy tangled together. "Yes. Absolutely yes." I put the ring on my finger, and he kissed me among the vines we'd built together, and for the first time in 6 years, everything felt right. We got married in September. Small ceremony at the vineyard, just close friends and staff. Jules was my only attendant. Patricia cried through the entire thing. Carlos gave me away, which made sense since he'd been there for every harvest, every crisis, every victory. Dominic's vows were simple. "I promise to build with you, to fight beside you, to never take shortcuts with us, to be worthy of the empire you created, and to love you until my last breath, and probably beyond that too." Mine were simpler. "I choose you every day. No matter what comes, I choose us." We honeymooned in Bordeaux, toured vineyards, met winemakers, tasted vintages that made us rethink everything we thought we knew about terroir. Came back with ideas, inspiration, and a renewed commitment to making our wines the best in California. The business continued growing. The Tokyo deal opened doors across Asia. Our wines started appearing in Michelin-starred restaurants. Wine Spectator did a feature article titled "From Ashes to Empire, Lena Cross's Remarkable Rise." But the real work was smaller, daily. Dominic learning to be present instead of perfect. Me learning to trust instead of wait for disaster. Both of us figuring out how to be partners instead of savior and saved. It wasn't smooth. We fought about expansion plans, about whether to sell the restaurants or keep them, about my tendency to work 80-hour weeks and his habit of making decisions without consulting me. You can't just buy another vineyard without talking to me first, I said, after he'd made an offer on an adjacent property. I thought you'd be excited. I am excited, but I'm also your partner. You have to include me in major decisions. You're right. I'm sorry. Old habits. We'll break them. We're in this together or not at all. Together, he agreed. Always together. The second vineyard turned out to be brilliant. We converted it to biodynamic practices, experimented with varietals we'd never grown before. Within 3 years, it was producing some of our most celebrated wines. Adrian sent a letter 5 years after I'd taken the Cole vineyard. I almost threw it away without reading, but curiosity won. Lena, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you probably hate me, and you should. I was a coward and a liar, and I hurt you in ways I can't ever take back. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I'm writing because I saw the Wine Spectator article. Read about everything you've built. And I wanted you to know, I'm proud of you. Not that my pride matters, but I am. You took my family's vineyard and made it something they never could have. You've succeeded beyond anything I ever imagined, and you did it without compromising yourself. I'm working at a tech startup now. Dating someone nice, trying to be a better person. It's not much, but it's honest. I hope you're happy. I hope Dominic knows how lucky he is, and I hope someday you can think of me without anger. Take care, Adrian. I showed the letter to Dominic. How do you feel? He asked. Nothing. I don't feel anything about him anymore. I folded the letter. He's just someone I used to know, someone who gave me an ending so I could have a better beginning. Are you going to respond? No, there's nothing to say. We're done. We've been done. I threw the letter away and didn't think about Adrian again. Sophia tried to reconnect several times over the years. Emails, texts. Eventually a phone call I didn't answer. Jules ran into her at a coffee shop in the city and reported back. She looked sad, Jules said. Asked about you. Wanted to know if you were happy. What did you tell her? That you're thriving. Building an empire. Married to someone who actually deserves you. She paused. She cried. Said she knows she destroyed everything and she's sorry. Good. She should be sorry. Do you ever think about forgiving her? No, some betrayals don't get forgiveness. They just get distance. That's harsh. That's honest. I looked at Jules. She chose Adrian over me. Made that choice every day for 3 months. I don't owe her absolution. Fair enough. I never did forgive Sophia, never reached out, but eventually the anger faded into indifference. She became a cautionary tale instead of an open wound. Someone who taught me that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. The vineyard won its first major international award 8 years after I'd taken it over. Best New World Cabernet at a blind tasting in Paris. We beat wineries that had been producing for generations. Beat labels that cost 3 times ours. Dominic and I flew to Paris for the ceremony. Walked up on stage together to accept the award. Stood in front of hundreds of people and proved that we'd built something legendary. This is for everyone who said we couldn't, I said into the microphone. Everyone who doubted, who dismissed, who tried to tear us down. We did it anyway, and we're just getting started. The applause was deafening. Afterwards, in our hotel room, Dominic opened a bottle of champagne that was older than both of us combined. To us, he said, to everything we built, to everything we're still building. To choosing each other, I added, every single day. We drank and talked until dawn, watching Paris light up below us. And I thought about the night at the Rothwell Gallery, when everything had fallen apart. How I'd kissed a stranger in desperation and fury. How that stranger had given me a chance. How that chance had become a partnership, then a love, then an empire. What are you thinking? Dominic asked. That I'd do it all again. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every impossible choice. If it meant ending up here with you. Even the 5 years I was gone? Even that. Because it taught me I could survive anything, build anything, become anything I needed to be. He pulled me closer. You've always been that person. You just needed someone to see it. You saw it. No, I just recognized what was already there. We stayed in Paris for a week, visited vineyards, met winemakers, planned future collaborations, came back energized and ready for the next challenge. The next decade brought more success than we'd dreamed possible. The vineyard expanded to 3 properties. The restaurants became destinations. The import business grew internationally. We employed over 200 people, made wines that sold out before they were bottled. But the real victory was smaller, more personal. It was Dominic making coffee every morning, me teaching him about biodynamic farming even though he'd never care as much as I did. Both of us working side by side, disagreeing about oak aging, but agreeing on everything that mattered. It was Jules visiting with her husband and kids, teaching them to taste wine properly. Carlos retiring after 20 years, crying when we gave him equity in the company. Patricia finally admitting she'd always believed in us, even when it looked impossible. It was choosing each other, every day, through arguments and successes and the regular boring, beautiful work of building a life. We never had children. Talked about it, decided the vineyard was enough. Our legacy was already written in the vines, in the bottles that would outlast us, in the empire we'd built from betrayal and revenge and love that refused to quit. 20 years after that night at the Rothwell Gallery, we stood in the vineyard on a summer evening. The harvest was weeks away. The vines heavy with fruit, everything golden and perfect.
Do you ever regret it? Dominic asked. Any of it? No, not a single second. Not even Adrian? Not even the pain he caused? Especially that, because it led me here, led me to you. I leaned against him. He was the ending I needed. You were the beginning I deserved. Pretty sure you're the one who saved me. We saved each other. That's how this works. We stood there as the sun set, painting the vineyard gold and red and purple. Our empire, our legacy, our choice. And it was perfect. Not because it was easy, not because we never struggled or fought or doubted, but because we'd built it together, from ashes and fury and a single reckless kiss. From nothing into everything, from revenge into love, from broken into whole, and that, more than any award or accolade or profit margin, was the real victory. We'd won, not against anyone else, but for ourselves, for each other, for the impossible, beautiful, messy thing we'd created from the ruins of our separate disasters. We'd won, and we would keep winning every single day for the rest of our lives. Because that's what you do when you choose love over safety, when you build instead of destroy, when you refuse to let betrayal and consequences and 5 years in federal prison stop you from becoming everything you were meant to be. You win, together, always.